Hello YouTube, this is Kaito JR here, and I'm here to do another Ajin discussion video, this time discussing about an Ajin Scream. Now, I already have made an Ajin Scream video about a year ago, talking about, of course, the Ajin Scream, Paralysis Scream, how it's able to, temporarily cease the functioning of the nervous system in order to just immobilize their target just long enough for the Ajin to either kill the target easier or just escape from the target, because it's a good move to execute when you want to make a good getaway. Because, well, first of all, if you know about the Ajins, if you know about the Ajin itself, if you're close to the Ajin, then it won't affect you all that much. But if you don't know much about Ajins, then the Scream will affect you. It will affect your nervous system. It's kind of like a Thanatos reflex that some of the researchers or scientists, people that were talking to Colonel Koma about. It was around the first season, very early on in the manga, because they were explaining this. Since see Colonel Koma, he didn't know much about really Ajins in general. I mean, there was so many new information coming from Ajin and all this stuff, about the research stuff. You got first it was the immortality thing. Now it's the Scream, and now it's the IBM. He can't keep up with all this sort of stuff. All this new information coming from Ajins themselves, because so these researchers just explained to Colonel Koma that the Ajin Scream is just a Thanatos reflex. It's like a fancier way of saying playing dead. I mean, possums do this in the wild in order to evade predators, because because most predators wouldn't really mess with a carcass all that much. They would rather just kill it alive themselves. So if they see a possum playing dead, they would probably just stay away from that. So it's a pretty useful strategy in order to evade from predators. And then once the predator just walks away, that's when the possum can just get back up, get back from the dead, and just walk away like that. So that's the whole thing there with that. And then of course Koma was able to understand it all, sort of, and then they just move on back to the whole IBM thing, because that's what's more important right now. Because at the time they called those Ajis the variant or the other species, because they were able to produce IBM, which some Ajins Ko, for example, cannot. I'm pretty sure Ko can produce an IBM. I mean, even Ikuya Ogura stated this himself. You just have to die a lot of times just so you can produce an IBM. So of course that's what Ikuya just says right there. Just die a couple times, a lot of times actually, Ko, and then boom, you can produce an IBM. Probably, I don't know. Just die a lot. Just see what happens. Of course, Ko did that, but you see, Ko, he never produced a paralyzing scream before. He never screamed at all, which, K has used the whole scream thing a lot, which did affect it. For example, it affected, Hirasawa, Manabe, and all the other guys there, humans. I guess the whole, Ajin scream doesn't affect, other Ajins as well, because it had no effect on Ko, or just really any other Ajins at all, because, I guess Ajins aren't affected by each other's screams, so that's kind of useless for them. But it does affect humans who aren't aware of Ajins all that much. You think Hirasawa and Manabe wouldn't be affected by the Scream all that much, but maybe because they were just taken off of guard. So that's why the Scream was able to work on them a lot better, just like that. Because they just saw K enter the door, K just well, what's going on? Stop! And then you scream. And then of course that just seized all their nervous system except for Ko, of course, because he's an Ajin, that won't affect him apparently. So that's the whole example right there with the whole Paralyzing Scream. That it only affects humans. It does not affect Ajins at all. So also, if you are wearing earplugs or really any sort of noise dampener at all, you'll be able to be immune to the whole Scream effect. It wouldn't really affect you at all if you were wearing earplugs or anything like that. So it's a very useful thing to have, earplugs. But mostly we don't usually see Ajins using the Scream thing all that much. They mostly just utilize their immortality and their IBM for the most part. We don't really see them using the Scream, and I don't really blame them, because it's not really a useful tactic to use at all, really. It's not something you would use all that much because of all the limitations it has and all the weaknesses. Earplugs can basically nullify it. If you're aware of the Ajin, that's nullified as well. There's a lot of instances that when you use a Scream, you're not very sure if it'll work or not. So it's kind of a really risky move to use, really, because you're not sure if it'll work or not. Also, you can also control who you want the Scream to work on. For example, with Kaito. Because of course, K used a Scream in order to neutralize both of the thugs that were trying to capture him very early on in the manga, but Kaito was unaffected by this as well. I guess because K didn't want it to affect Kaito, which is why he had some control over it, so Kaito wasn't affected by it at all. Either that or K and Kai are just really close to each other. We're not close because like they didn't have much contact with each other like in the beginning of the manga for like years even before that. So yeah, it's just that they care about each other a lot, which is why the the whole voice thing, the screen didn't affect Kaito all that much, and why they were able to get away with those two thugs that are trying to capture Kei for like some sort of bounty or money, all that sort of stuff like that. So yeah, so that yeah, it's just a Thanatos' reflex for the most part. When the Ajin screams, its targets usually try to like stand still, like playing dead. It's kind of like a kind of like that whole Thanatos' reflex. They're not really in control. It's just like instinctive, like a possum. A possum sees a superior force, it plays dead in order for like the superior force or the predator to lose interest in the possum, so just go and walk away someplace else. Yeah, that's the whole point of the reflex right there, just to evade danger, all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much just everything you need to talk about with the whole Ajin Scream, everybody. So yeah, just comment down below if you have any questions you want to ask, anything at all. Just comment down below, all that sort of stuff like that. Yeah, so, but yeah, that's it for the video, everybody. Thanks for watching, and bye.